Beneath Julia's body, there was the Macintosh raincoat covered in blood and partially burnt. And it would become one of the most debated objects in this case.
Yeah, what? How and why did it get under her body?
We'll get to that. Why, hello there. Welcome back to Mystery for Two podcast. I'm Katie.
I'm Jack.
And I hope you're staying cozy out there. It's really freaking cold where we are. I'm so glad you guys are back here with us. I will say, comment down below where you're from, where you're listening right now. I am curious about that. Not to steal your thunder with your question, Jack.
Yeah, look at this. Already coming in, already asking a question before I get my question.
I'm just curious where people are listening
I can't have anything for myself.
No, you get the floor. All you know what? Right now, here you go. You get the floor, Jack. You knock our socks off with your question this week. I'm excited to hear what it is. Okay. Well,
first of all, I just wanted to say that there'll be no belly rumbling issues this week. I'm well fed. I had Chipotle just before this episode. Massive steak and cheese quesadilla with chips and guac. So for those who tuned in last week, there was some turbulence mid-episode.
Honestly, it added some character to the story.
That came from my gut. So yeah, hopefully I'll be better behaved this week and no odd sounds. But that's a nice segue into my question for the week. Do comment your answers on, the various channels, be it YouTube, Instagram, or what have you. But my question is, if you were to be, a naughty person, do something bad, and you find yourself sitting on death row, what would your final meal be? What would your death row meal be?
I love this question. I love the death row meal question, because I feel like it tells a lot about a person, what their last meal would be. Well, what would yours be? I feel like I already know, but...
McDonald's Diet Coke, that needs to be delivered to me.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's fries, this is where it gets a bit interesting. You'd think maybe I stay with McDonald's, I get a Big Mac, something like that. I'm actually going to switch it for a Chick-fil-A, just number one chicken sandwich with pickles. Some people take the pickles out,
I ask for extra pickles.
And a McFlurry from McDonald's.
Oh,
I need dessert.
Yum.
And then also some kind of cheesecake from somewhere.
See, mine would 1000% include an extra dirty vodka martini, extra chilled glass. I don't know if that's like the treatment that I would receive, but...
You'd maybe get it in a red Solo cup if you were lucky.
I'm asking for it, though. I want an extra chilled glass. I want 3 juicy green olives. I want... Well, that's not the only thing. Of course, I also want a full steak dinner. Should we get into this week's episode?
Let's get into it. The nitty-gritty.
Are you ready? Honestly, guys, we're really shifting gears because this story today is dark. It is brutal. Okay, without further ado, I think we get into today's locked room mystery. Have you ever heard of a locked room mystery before?
No, my brain thinks of like an escape room.
Okay, well, similar, actually. It's essentially a crime that seems physically impossible to commit. Impossible for the perpetrator to enter the crime scene, commit the crime, and leave without being heard or seen or caught. No evidence, no fingerprints, like
with no forced entry.
For lack of a better way to put it, the perfect crime. Okay, so here we are in January of 2026 when we're telling this story. And the case today takes place in January of 1931, so 94 years ago this month that we're sitting in right now. As this comes out, it'll be February. But we're in a place called Liverpool, in an area called Anfield.
In England?
Yes.
Oh, I hate Liverpool. Do you know what their anthem is?
No, what is it?
You never walk alone.
You never walk alone. That's powerful. So we're in Anfield, and we're a few years into the Great Depression. Jobs were scarce, money was tight. In working class districts like Anfield, life was very simple. People settled into very rigid, frugal patterns. People stayed close to home. They walked the same streets. They kept the same routines. And because of that, if anyone deviated from their normal routine, people were quick to notice. Wolverton Street in Anfield was one of those streets with very little privacy. The houses were very close together, with front doors opening directly onto the pavement, not set back behind elaborate hedges or anything like that. The walls were thin, and everyone heard just about everything that went on Wolverton Street. At house number 29, there lived a man named William Herbert Wallace and his wife, Julia. They were not a young couple by any means. They weren't particularly social or particularly fashionable, according to neighbors, which honestly is kind of brutal because the more research I did, I realized they just seemed to be...
kind of loners.
Well, yeah, a couple that just kept to themselves. They didn't have a ton of friends, but they also seemed to enjoy each other's company. They were artistic. They were musical. They kept to themselves. So...
well, on the topic of Liverpool...
by all accounts, they're normal.
On the topic of Liverpool and music, you know who's from Liverpool?
Who?
I mean, there's an array of musical talent, but the Beatles.
Really? I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Very cool. What era was the Beatles? The 70s?
Now you're going to embarrass me. I'm terrible at eras and questions.
That was just my
that.
first guess. And this is the 30s, so I guess maybe they weren't even born yet at this point, clearly.
Beatles in Liverpool.
William Wallace was 52 years old, a reserved, smart man who was in poor health. He had issues with his kidneys and was frequently ill. He worked as an insurance agent for Prudential, which at the time was mostly done on foot, going door to door, following the same routine pretty much every day. He walked the same routes week after week, collecting small insurance premiums from his customers. And in his free time, William liked to experiment with chemistry. He had a small little laboratory set up in his house, and he also liked to play chess. William was scheduled to play chess tournaments at his club on Mondays, and he typically went every week or sometimes every other week if he was under the weather, etc. Julia, by all accounts, was a shy but kind woman. She was religious and appreciated the arts. She was actually a watercolor painter. And in the parlor of the Wallace's house, they had a bunch of her paintings on the walls.
That's cool.
Which is cool. I'd love to get to the point where I could watercolor to, well enough that I could hang it on a wall. I could see that for this room. We're kind of running out of space, but...
You painted a little teapot the other week.
I did paint a little teapot.
We won't talk about the failed martini that you also tried to paint, but...
yeah.
Love you.
Unfortunately, I got too excited to outline it with Sharpie, and it bled all over the wet paint. It was a disaster. It was a martini disaster. Okay. Anyway, so Julia, though, she was a great artist. She was also fluent in French and a singer and talented pianist. And William was an amateur violin player, so sometimes they would come together and she would play the piano, he would play the violin for visitors that came over, like their relatives and the
Come Together. That's a Beatles song.
Oh my God. There's so many Beatles references just unintentionally woven through this story.
Well, it's giving me layups. I can't help but just,
It's a very sweet picture, and it makes me think that they probably had at least a civil, respectful relationship for each other. And it also was making me think, should we learn some musical instruments so we can perform for our friends when they come over?
I don't think that would help our relationship.
No. It would drive a wedge between us.
I don't think you want to listen to me learn to play the guitar.
Oh, that would be your instrument of choice? Guitar?
If I could be really good at something, if I could be just sick at the electric guitar, that would be unbelievable.
I mean, there's still time.
Nah, I've tried. My dad, good. My brother, good. Friends of mine, good. I'm not just saying this to try to be funny. When I pick up a guitar, I naturally pick it up in the wrong way.
Okay.
I hold it backwards.
Maybe that means that there's another instrument that is your calling.
The triangle.
The triangle. Honestly, the triangle takes some skill, and it really hurts your hand after a while.
I think I'm more of a percussion man. I just need to be given drums and be allowed to make a ruckus.
Make a racket.
A racket. Yeah, not a ruckus.
No, that also works.
Both.
I think what just happened? For decades, Julia was described in records and retellings of this story as a young wife, quiet, very dependent on her husband, William. But over the years, more research has been done, and we found out actually that she wasn't this younger wife that people have suggested that she was. Marriage records and census data say that Julia may have been significantly older than William. Some records point to her being as much as 17 years older than William. Some reports say that Julia was nearly 70 years old, and at the time of this investigation that would ultimately come, we'll get to that, investigators were told and believed that she was in her 50s, and there were murmurs at the time that maybe even William, her husband, thought that she was in her 50s. So there might have been some, withholding of the truth going on within their relationship. But the thing is, we don't know the answer to this question. We don't know. But because of what we do know later in the case, we can assume that she was perhaps in her 70s. So the debate about Julia's age was never explored in court. And another reason why I bring this up is if Julia was in fact lying about her age, why would she lie about her age by 20 years and not think that people would eventually find out?
I mean, I didn't think Botox was that good in the 30s.
I mean, people were questioned about this afterwards. Like,
Julie had some homemade remedy or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I want what she's got. Yeah. Some people did say, they had their suspicions that she maybe was older than she said she was. But, then again, some people just present their, age differently / it's hard to say. But it is just an interesting fact worth noting that,
I mean, I would be suspicious of anyone that's just lying about their age.
Yeah,
by 20 years.
I guess back then, maybe there was more of a stigma against being older than your husband as a wife, especially by 20 years. But then again, the truth would eventually come out anyway, right? At some point. But I digress. The marriage itself between William and Julia, by all accounts, was pretty normal. Neighbors said they never heard any shouting, arguments, signs of strain on the relationship. There were no known affairs or financial issues, and no history of either side, or on either side rather, of violence. They just appeared to be a shy but kind couple, which is why what happened inside of house number 29 would shock everyone on Wolverton Street. On Monday, January 19th, 1931, the Liverpool Central Chess Club, which William Wallace was a member of, gathered, as it always did, on North John Street. The club met on Monday and Thursday evenings. So on that Monday evening, the men all arrived and found their seats at familiar tables to play their games of chess. Sometimes up to 100 people could be expected on chess nights. It was a big activity of the Great Depression. And then a waitress named Gladys Harley, who often waited on the members of the chess club the nights that they met. That night, the telephone rang, and Gladys, the waitress, picked up the phone. The person on the other end asked to speak to William Wallace, but William hadn't arrived at chess club yet. Earlier that day, William was thinking about actually skipping chess that night because Julia was homesick with bronchitis, and he himself had just gotten over the flu. So, honestly relatable for January. Bitter cold, under the weather.
Can't miss chess night with the boys.
Well, Julia told William to go ahead and go play chess. But yeah, chess night with the boys. So William was planning on going to the meeting, but he just hadn't arrived there yet. So he was thinking about not going. He decided to go. Julia was urging him to get out of the house. She's probably leave me alone.
She's I want to cough my lungs up in peace.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm sick.
I've got bronchitis.
When I'm sick, sometimes I'm honestly, Jack, I love you, but leave me alone. Give me my space. So William was planning on going to the meeting, but he hadn't arrived there yet at the time of this phone call. So Gladys handed the phone over to the chess club captain, Samuel Beatty, and Samuel spoke to the caller on William's behalf. He didn't recognize the voice on the other end of the phone call, but chatted with him, hoping to relay some information to William once he got there. The caller asked Samuel whether Mr. William Wallace was present. Samuel said no, William was not there. The caller then asked for William Wallace's address, which Samuel refused. He was like, I'm not going to just give out someone's personal information like that, like especially over the phone. The caller then asked another question. He asked whether William was expected to arrive at all that night to chess club. Samuel was like, he may not, but if he is coming, he'll be here shortly. And he suggested that the caller should just call back later. Then the person on the other end said something a little strange. The caller said he was too busy to call back later. He explained that he was in the middle of preparing for his girlfriend's 21st birthday party, but he still really wanted to see William Wallace. It was something connected to his insurance business, something that he wanted to have handled in person. So the mysterious caller gave Samuel his name, R.M. Qualtrough, and an address, 25 Menlove Gardens East, Mossley Hill. He repeated both carefully, making sure that they were written down correctly, and Samuel repeated them back. And then he hung up the phone and told himself that he would give William this information, like the name and address, later on, if he showed up. Sure enough, after about 20 or 30 minutes, William Wallace finally arrived at chess club. Technically, William was late, and late enough to be disqualified under chess club rules. I know, rigid rules at chess club.
They run a tight ship at chess club.
They do. I mean, well, because your opponent, because it's a fully like timed ordeal. Like you're timing yourself. Have you ever seen Queen's Gambit? The show?
Yeah.
My God, that show was like one of the best shows I've ever watched.
There's also, like, if you go walk in Washington Square Park and you see the chess players, a lot of them, or like professional chess, it's all with the clock.
Right. So they do run a tight ship for good reason. But technically, those rules were rarely enforced. So I guess actually not that tight of a ship after all. So William, even though he was like 20 or 30 minutes late, he was allowed to play anyway. William's scheduled opponent, a man named F.C. Chandler, never showed up that night. So instead, William played Mr. McCartney and ended up winning his game.
Paul McCartney, member of the Beatles.
Seriously? Oh my God, you're so right. There are so many references. Wait, I wonder if Mr. McCartney was Paul's dad. Wow.
Just saying. I'm listening.
I mean, I didn't even pick up on that. Okay. And so William ended up winning his game against Mr. McCartney. Friends would later say that William was quietly pleased by his victory. Partway through chess club, Samuel Beatty came over and chatted with William, relaying the message from the phone call, and told him that a man named R.M. Qualtrough wanted to see him about some insurance matter the following evening at 7:30 p.m. at 25 Menlove Gardens East. Which, when I first was reading this, I'm like, the address, Menlove Gardens. Menlove Gardens. Like, how many times has that joke been made?
Yeah.
Men love gardens. Do men love gardens, Jack? Do they? Do men love gardens? Do you love a garden?
I think it's a personal preference.
I'm not talking like weed. I'm talking like an outdoor, like the backyard garden.
Jeez, my head went to a different place.
What did you think?
Like, do men like the bush?
Oh. No,
and it's a personal preference.
I was thinking like gardens, as in
some
like
people shave their shrub. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay, not once did my brain go there. Not even once.
I'm unfiltered.
That's why you're here, Jack, to give your honest feedback on the story. Anyway, so on the phone, this mysterious R.M. Qualtrough asked to meet William at 7:30 the following evening at 25 Menlove Gardens East, which is an address. William seemed confused when Samuel was telling him this and said that he'd never heard of a Mr. Qualtrough, but took note of the time and address and planned on going there the very next day, although he'd also never heard of that neighborhood before. And he expressed that. He was like, wait.
It doesn't sound like a real place.
Well, he was chatting with his friends. He's like, Menlove Gardens East, to William's knowledge, did not exist. So there was a Menlove Gardens north, south, and west, but not east. Or at least William was like, wait a minute, I've never heard of that. But you know what? Maybe it's new. Maybe they just created a new street. After asking around the club, no one else seemed to know of the neighborhood either, but William didn't really think anything of it. He was like, you know what, guys? He actually said to his co-chess players, he said, he belonged to Liverpool. And he could just ask for directions to Mr. Queltra's house once he got to the neighborhood. He's like, I'm a man of these streets. Like, I know Liverpool like the back of my hand. I'm going to like chat about and figure out where this is. Like, maybe also Samuel could have written it down wrong. Like, he wasn't going to accuse him, but he's like, maybe he misheard. Maybe he wrote it down wrong. Or maybe Queltro himself even misspoke on the phone.
I mean, good luck understanding a Liverpool accent.
They do have really crazy accents.
Like, thick.
When William gets home from chess club, his wife Julia is home, but very distraught. Her beloved black cat named Puss is missing, and she's starting to get worried as it was a cold January night. So Puss is missing.
It's like Puss in Boots.
Yeah, Puss is missing, and we've got William a little confused about an address, but overall, nothing nefarious happened on Monday.
And a cat can go out for a night or two and come back. That's not the craziest thing.
That is true. That is true. Okay. Are you ready to move on to details about the murder?
Please.
The murder.
I assumed the murder was going to take place while
at chess club?
Our man was at chess.
Nope. Julia is alive and well at this point. Monday night. She's alive and well.
Just Puss is on the loose.
Puss is on the loose. That's the only thing. So now we're moving on to Tuesday. This is the next day. Tuesday, January 20th, 1931. And it started out, as most Tuesdays do, especially during the Great Depression, like pretty unremarkable. William Wallace.
Tuesday.
So Mr. William Wallace on this Tuesday was getting ready to leave the house to go on his usual door-to-door insurance business. So he got dressed in a dark slate gray raincoat called a Macintosh jacket. Have you heard of a Macintosh jacket?
I think that's why they're called Macs for short.
Oh, is it called? Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, an MAC, a Mac.
I've honestly never heard, prior to the story, I'd never heard of a Macintosh jacket, but...
Well, why? It's the same as Apple products.
Apple?
It was the Macintosh laptop, and then that's why it's known as the Mac.
Really? They didn't create the jacket, no? Apple?
No, I'm just saying the phrase Macintosh. I know people for short call it, the MacBook Pro, but it's a Macintosh. The same way the Mac coat is a Macintosh.
I see. You're explaining the
Macintosh
shortened...
Mac.
Okay.
Mac and cheese. Now I'm hungry again.
Big Mac. There's a lot of Macs.
Big Macintosh.
A lot of Macs. Okay. So Macintosh jacket, if you don't know what a Macintosh jacket is, like me going into this story, it is a rubberized waterproof jacket. And they also, the brand Macintosh, it's a brand. They sell other things as well, but that's what they're known for. So William's wearing his Macintosh jacket because the weather isn't great out, and he went out, like usual, to collect insurance money. His usual routine was going door to door to clients, like I said, collecting money they owed, and would later put that cash that he collected from his clients into a cash box in his house for the time being, until he eventually gave it over to the right people at work. And while William was out collecting money on his rounds, Julia stayed at home. William returned home a little after 2 o'clock to have some lunch. It was raining outside still, and on his way in the door, William hung up his soaking wet Macintosh coat in the hall near the front door so it could dry off while he had a little snack, took a load off, ate lunch with his wife. And at a little after 3 o'clock, so an hour later, William puts on a different jacket before he headed out again because the weather kind of shifted a bit. It was a little better than it was earlier, and so he changed his jacket into a lighter fawn raincoat, and then he's off again. And these details that I'm saying, they're important.
Is Puss still missing?
Puss is still missing. Puss is on the loose at this point. Around 15 minutes after William left the house after lunch, a police constable named James Edward Rothwell, who knew William, was cycling down the street. James said that he passed by close to William, who was looking down at the ground, so he didn't see him. And James said that William's face appeared haggard, drawn, and unusually distressed. He noted that it looked like William might have been crying.
Missing Puss.
Missing Puss. However, James was actively cycling, and it was also a cold January day, which, happens all the time to me, at least. I'm outside. It's so cold that my eyes are literally like involuntarily crying. So this, could be an important detail from the day, or it could be an unimportant detail depending on what you believe, which way you look at it. But insurance clients of William's that saw him that day said that he appeared to be his normal, pleasant self. While William was out, Amy Wallace arrived at the house to visit Julia. And Amy was William's sister-in-law and was married to William's younger brother, Joseph. According to Amy, they hung out in the living room and talked about the fact that William was out off to this, business appointment. And they also talked about some recent burglaries that had happened. While Amy was at the house with Julia, the baker's boy named Neil Norbury allegedly arrived to deliver the Wallace's bread. And he said that Julia did not look well. And Julia reassured him. Like, he said it to her face. He was like, "Hey, Julia, you're not looking good." And
Julia's like, "Thanks."
Julia was like, "I have bronchitis. Like, what do you expect from me?
It's January and I have bronch."
Yeah. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed that she even had Amy Wallace, I was trying to work this out, and this might be me being dumb. If Amy Wallace is William's sister-in-law, like William's brother's wife, does that make her Julia's sister-in-law as well?
I'm completely lost.
Amy is... Okay, William has a brother, younger brother. His younger brother married Amy. So Amy's now part of the family. Amy is William's sister-in-law. Does that also make her Amy's sister-in-law? Yes, right?
You just said Amy's sister-in-law is Amy's sister.
Oh my God. Julia's sister-in-law.
Yeah, because Julia and William are married.
Okay, yeah. So, duh. So it's also her sister-in-law too. They're all one big happy family. Okay, sorry. I don't know why that really tripped me up, but I'm even honestly, it's inspiring that Julia was like, "I've had bronchitis for 2 weeks and I'm going to entertain someone right now." So kind of crazy that she even had Amy over.
Actually.
Oh, are we not right?
I don't think it would be.
So she's just Amy.
Well, I just think Blake is my brother-in-law.
Right. It's your sister's
me and
husband.
You get married.
Yeah.
Blake isn't your brother-in-law.
No.
No, you're just not related.
But in-law means you're because of the marriage, he is your brother-in-law. He's your brother because through marriage.
Yeah, because he's married to my sister.
Right.
And me and my sister will always be siblings.
This is confusing. I got to Google this later.
That's what I think.
Anyway, so Amy's at the house. Okay. And when this happens, the baker's boy, Neil Norbury, arrives to deliver bread. And he told Julia she's not looking so great. Julia reassured him it was just a bad bout of bronchitis, nothing serious. She'd had bronchitis for 2 weeks at this point, so that makes sense. He leaves. Amy Wallace, the sister-in-law of William, and William only, said that she left Wolverton Street at about 4:30. Around the time that Amy left, the window cleaner, Charles Bliss, there's a lot of people coming by to do various things around the house. Window cleaner Charles Bliss was scaling a wall and began working on cleaning the back windows of the Wallace's house. So this is happening as Amy is leaving. Julia went out into the yard and paid Charles a shilling for his hard work on the windows. And then a little while later, around 5:45, William, so we're back to William, he was just finishing up his last insurance round for the day and headed straight home, got home around 6:05. He ate an evening meal consisting of scones with Julia. So scones for dinner. Honestly, seems a little too light in terms of what I think of as being dinner, but it was also the Great Depression, so...
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly. He finished eating pretty quickly and allegedly then goes upstairs to comb his hair and zhuzh himself up before his last appointment of the day. He's collecting some documents, getting his stuff together for his meeting with the mysterious Mr. Qualtrough, the caller from Chess Club. At about 6:30, so now from now on, actually the whole time, but like I just want to flag that the timestamps here matter. Okay. So he got home 6:05. It's now about 6:30, so like little over a half or under a half hour after William gets home. Perhaps while he was upstairs combing his hair, a milkman, or should I say a milk boy, because he was just 13 years old, Alan Croxton Close is his name, rang the Wallace's doorbell. 13 years old, just delivering milk for his father. Around the same time, perhaps either right before or right after Alan the milk boy left, local paper boy David Jones slides that day's issue of the Liverpool Echo through the letterbox of 29 Wolverton Street. He didn't see anyone else on the street, nor did he hear any sounds or commotion or see any lights on in the Wallace's house. So a lot was going on.
Yeah, I'm following along.
At the Wallace house.
We have a milkman, a paper boy, some rogue chess caller.
Have you heard? Oh my God, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but like the Full House theme song. Do you know Full House, the show?
I've heard of it.
The intro, like song, you know how like, you know, a lot of shows have like a song and sometimes they have like lyrics. This one goes like, the milkman, the paper boy, and Eve and something TV. An evening TV.
I'm not familiar.
Well, listeners.
I'll take you
at my
your
word.
word for it, yeah.
Full House was the best show ever, but I'm pretty sure that was like part of the song. Anyway, sorry.
Get to the point. I need to hear this. What's going on?
So we're going to rewind really quick to an important detail about Alan the milk boy. So it turns out Alan was the last confirmed person to see Julia Wallace alive. So he told investigators that he both saw and spoke to her, and she was very much alive at 6:30 p.m. that night. He said he knew it was 6:30 based on calculations that he made mentally after passing the church clock. So he had this like usual milk route, and when you do the same thing like every day, you start to realize like, oh, I'm like, you know, this is usually the time that I'm passing this place. This is usually the time that I arrive to this person's house.
He probably knew, yeah. Within an hour, he would do, 30 houses, maybe, right. Something like that.
Right. And he's like, okay, this is my route. I typically know. And he probably more so for the reason of like knowing when he's going to be done. Like, okay, I want to get done with this so I can like go play with my friends. Like I'm 13 years old. So during the trial that would later happen in this case, there was a lot of back and forth about exactly what time Alan saw Julia Wallace alive. Like, was it 6:30 or was it maybe 6:45? They even had him reenact his route to see how long it would really take him to like hit all of his houses and arrive at the Wallace residence. And there's still like a bit of gray area there, but we've kind of established it was definitely between 6:30 and 6:45. So like either 6:30 or 6:45, Alan saw Julia alive. And it was between 6:40 and 6:45 that William Wallace allegedly put back on his lighter fawn coat, not his bigger Macintosh jacket. The reason I say that, the Macintosh raincoat, speaking of, will come up again in a moment. But the next time that we talk about this raincoat, it will be burnt and lying in a pool of Julia's blood. We'll get to that later. 6:40 or 6:45, William leaves the house in his lighter jacket to go meet the stranger, Mr. Qualtrough. William boarded the tram at 6:49 and made his way toward the Menlove Gardens area. And as he traveled, he asked for directions a lot. He asked frequently, like passengers, the tram conductor. He asked passerbys on the street. He asked there's a lot of witnesses saying that he was asking for directions. He even asked a policeman for directions on how to get to this particular area of Menlove Gardens, which isn't crazy because he, like we, established at Chess Club, he was confused about this like mythical neighborhood. So he was asking for a lot of directions. And you could say he was just confused or that he was trying hard to establish his alibi.
That checks out.
Like get a lot of people to see him and hear from him to say like, oh, like this, I saw William Wallace at this time.
I spoke to him on the train.
I spoke to him.
He couldn't have been at home to murder his wife.
Mm-hmm. But also he was confused about where he was going. And he claims to be this man of Liverpool. He's like, I'll just ask my fellow Liverpoolians.
Liverpudlians.
Liverpudlians, where to go. And so like he's asking a lot of people for directions. And no one he asked could help him find the address because, alas, the address did not exist. But William continued to walk around anyway, continued to ask people and knock on doors like he really wanted to find this address. Eventually, William abandoned the mission and headed home. Around 8:40 or 8:45 p.m., so 2 hours after he left to go see Mr. Qualtrough, who, once again, he doesn't even exist, William returned to his house on Wolverton Street. He tries his key in the front door, but the door won't open. And so he struggles with the door, which I will say is always embarrassing when you can't get in your house and you're like, people can see me like struggling with my door, like it looks like I'm breaking into my own house. The Johnsons, the Wallaces' neighbors, saw William struggling with the door. They were actually heading out on their evening walk when they noticed that William was fumbling with his keys. He appeared agitated and confused, according to the Johnsons, and he knocked on his door because Julia was presumably inside and like could, come to the door and help him out. He knocked, but nothing. Julia didn't come to the door. And so William saw the Johnsons, his neighbors, and he asked them if they'd heard anything unusual that evening. And the Johnsons said that they hadn't. But they could see how concerned that William was, that he, first of all, can't get into his house. Second of all, Julia is not coming to the door. And so they actually offered to wait with him while he checked inside, since this was very out of the ordinary. And like I said at the beginning of the story, at this point in time, the Great Depression, like people are, following these rigid routines. Like if something is out of the ordinary, everyone notices. So they noticed this. He tried the front door again with no luck, and then the back door again. When William tries the door one more time, with the Johnsons there, like watching him do it, it opened at last. And so William calls out to them. I guess they were like standing like a little ways away. He calls out to them. It opens now, and he heads inside. William says once he got in the door, he struck a match in the doorway of the parlor room downstairs, and that's when he sees his wife Julia sprawled out on the floor. A few moments later, neighbors say that William burst back outside, visibly upset, yelling that his wife was dead. Mr. Johnson asked, "What's wrong? Has she fallen down the stairs?" Because, no one can imagine that there's going to be, a bloody scene. No, surely it was an accident. He follows William inside of the parlor, and they see the murder scene. Julia had been beaten repeatedly about the head, which was the cause of death. In the initial report by the pathologist, Professor McFall, he said that he believes Julia was struck 3 or 4 times. But during the trial, he would end up changing his opinion to 11 times. Oh. So it wasn't a single blow. It was a violent, passion-filled attack, and it was brutal.
So it wasn't a stab with a knife wound. It was all I don't know, something bludgeoned with some kind of something sitting around the house.
Yeah, with force
or
to the head.
Or a weapon that the killer brought with them, maybe.
Right. So it wasn't a single blow. It seemed like we always, hear these cases where it's not like a, 2 shots to the head, make sure they're dead. I want to rob the place. It's like when there's overkill like this,
that's
it's usually because they knew
it's hate
the person. They
There's
hated
a lot
the
more
person.
Emotion in the kill.
Right. Either hate or they're there's passion involved.
Yeah.
So this is a brutal, brutal scene that these neighbors and William are walking into.
I'm just trying to picture if William did it before he went out and then comes back and this is all just an act. I'm going to go with no.
What do you mean no? No?
I don't think William killed his wife.
Interesting theory. Interesting theory, Jack. I don't even know how I would feel walking into a scene like this. It would...
Well, it's just shocking.
It's a shocking scene.
You would literally go into a state of shock.
Absolutely. So William is, taking in the scene, and to the Johnsons, he continues to repeat the phrase, "They've finished her. They've finished her." Clearly distressed, but You know, we see this all the time. People, the way that someone acts after there's been a murder, you know, it's hard to be like, oh, this person's acting suspicious, this person's acting weird, because like when you're in a state of shock, you don't really know how you're going to react.
Yeah. Would you know what this is reminding me of? It's the TV show, is it like American Killer Next Door or something crazy?
American Murder Next Door?
That was it, I think.
I actually forget
where
what it's
the
called.
neighbours, that like there was the actual footage of, look, it's been out for years now, so the spoiler is that the dad was the killer.
So messed up.
But the neighbours caught the dad.
I hated that one.
On their like CCTV of the dad driving his pickup truck at a weird time, which aligned with timings of bodies going missing, etc., etc. But what gave it away was the neighbours were looking at the cops being like, yeah, he's acting weird.
Yeah.
Like he was being like, I don't know where my children are, I don't know where my wife is, like knowing he was the person that killed them. But it was the neighbours that knew him well, and they were like, yeah, he's not acting himself.
Right. It's, yeah,
and
people
that's
that
what
know.
gave him away.
Right. But then again, like some people might act, quote, suspicious or like out of the ordinary, but they're just processing this situation. Like by all accounts, you know, William and Julia were pretty, for lack of a better, like they were kind of reclusive. They like, you know, spent a lot of time together and alone. Like he's just lost his wife.
I'd almost be just as suspicious of someone if they were like over the top, like sobbing and crying and like trying to make it so obvious that they're so shocked and surprised by it. That would make me look at someone and be like,
So beneath Julia's body, there was the Macintosh raincoat covered in blood and partially burnt. And it would become one of the most debated objects in this case.
Yeah, what? How and why did it get under her body?
We'll get to that. According to William, they actually didn't really use this parlor room very much. Like this wasn't, they had like, back in the day, they had had the parlor room and then they had like a separate living room. So this was kind of like their fancy living room. And they wouldn't really go in there that much. They like had a different living room that they spent most of their time in.
Doing well for a couple in the Great Depression.
Right? That also crossed my mind. I'm like, they got 2 living rooms. But the parlor room where Julia's body was found was typically for entertaining guests, and it was where they played their music. So it didn't get daily use. And in terms of the house and whether there was any sign of robbery or anything like that, there was a cabinet door in another room torn off of its hinges and broken in 2, which was peculiar, and then a small number of coins on the floor.
Well, you mentioned earlier that, what's the name of the guy, the husband again?
William.
You mentioned earlier that William would go out, collect his money and store it at home. So I'm now starting to think that maybe someone in the local area knew he would store his cash. And it was someone that was aware that, you know, there was a large sum of money available, and they knew him well enough that he was out finishing his round, or maybe it was a setup, that call, because you said that person that started with the letter G doesn't exist, and the place doesn't exist, so they went in to take the money. Boom, there you go. You don't even need to finish the episode. You don't even need to check in for
we don't even need a part 2.
Part 2. Investor Jack strikes again.
William reached up and took down his insurance cash box from the top shelf of a bookcase. It's like you knew exactly where I was going with this. But it's a little bit more nuanced than what you just shared.
Okay.
So hang tight with that theory. We'll see. We'll test that theory, okay? So William reaches up, takes down this insurance cash box from the top shelf of a bookcase, and said that it had been looted. All that was left inside was a single dollar bill and 4 stamps. Wallace replied that about €4 was missing, which at the time was the equivalent of $85 today. So not like a crazy amount of money. Definitely not enough money to kill someone over.
No.
But it had been, the cash box had been neatly returned to its shelf afterwards. And I also read that this shelf in question was about like 7 feet off the ground.
So they had to know where it was.
That's what my brain went. Like the person would have to know where this cash box was and be able to reach it or like somehow get up there. Like, I mean, I guess you could, I didn't get the specifics of how they reached it. Like, I'm sure there was like a little step stool or something, but Julia's purse was left untouched. Her jewelry left untouched. They didn't see any obvious weapon near her body. Nothing around the house, nothing in the house that matched her injuries, and no clear signs of forced entry were visible. The doors, guys, the doors were all locked from the inside.
Yeah,
so how could Julia's attacker have escaped if they didn't have a key to lock up the house afterwards? There's no signs of forced entry, like in the windows. So that is why this is a locked door mystery. How did they do it if they didn't have the key? So yeah, honestly, a lot of people start looking at William and are like a little suspicious about him. So the police were called and eventually arrived to secure the crime scene. And honestly, the way that the police handled this investigation was strange in itself. Like, one of the investigators, you'll see once we get to the investigation part of this story, one of the investigators even showed up drunk to the scene, straight from the pub.
I mean, hey, it's late evening.
True.
The copper's got to have his fun, right?
Yeah, but you're going to, like, call in your other guy. You're going to be like, oh, sorry, I'm over the legal limit. Like, I'll tap in my friend.
Hell no. That would have been, like, big news. Like, there's a murder on the street. Like, you're going. That's like that's like being a firefighter and you're like, oh, we actually have a big fire to put out.
Right. So the investigation itself is quite the tale. And we'll cover that and the trial in next week's episode. That is where I'm leaving you today.
All right. I like it. That's a good place to leave it.
Yeah. Like, who done it, guys? I mean, granted, we have quite the cast of characters. You know, I mean, these are real people. You know all the people that stop by the house.
Why is Puss missing, and does Puss come out alive in all of this?
I don't know. We'll get to that. That is, we will find out what happened to Puss.
I'm worried about Puss. William, not sure.
Yeah.
He was late to chess. He gets a random call.
Well, he wasn't at chess when the call came in. So could he have made the call?
I see what you mean. It's just all just a complete hoax from him. One thing I've known from the Agatha Christie novels, and this is real life, so this is what is kind of crazy about this. The Agatha Christie ones that I have watched with you, the ending, there's always a twist.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you might have a twist up your sleeve for us.
Well, you'll find out next week. We will continue the story about the horrible death of Julia Wallace. May she rest in peace. And the investigation and trial that would follow. What becomes of her husband, William. And is he the murderer? That's a big question that we're left with at the end of this episode.
Right now, he's prime suspect number one.
Right.
From every detail so far and evidence and timeline, he would be my... I mean, that's not, like, controversial to say, I don't think. I think he would be most of our...
Well, he has the key to the
number
house.
One.
He has the key to the house. So, and all the doors are locked from the inside.
I'm kind of, like, knowing that there was eyewitnesses from the neighbours seeing him open the door and be like, was he nervous? Like, because when you're used to opening your door, like, yeah, you obviously key goes straight in, you know the rhythm of your key. But I know, like, every door and lock is slightly different. It takes a while to fully get used to, like, how the, you know, the jig of the door or whatever that phrase is.
How the key needs to be, like, slightly angled to the left and, like, jiggled 3 times, and then you can open. Like there's
he wasn't out drinking. He was working. He was finished his work.
He was a little sickly though. Remember, he was like a sickly man. I think I actually read somewhere that he had only 1 kidney. Like, he was like kind of struggling with his health. So, and he'd had a long day.
Yeah.
And like honestly, this happens to me when I start to like panic or the door starts to like give me trouble, then I start to panic that I'm not going to be able to get in. especially at my parents' house, my parents have like, they gave me a key, but my key is like a new key. So it kind of needs to like get worked in a little bit. Like, so I get trouble with the door sometimes when I'm trying to open their door. And I kind of have this like panic moment. And then I get stressed that people are looking at me and are like judging me for not. And once I said, or like I said earlier, thinking that I'm breaking into my own house.
I have another theory as well.
What's your other theory?
He's an insurance salesman. Did he kill his wife for insurance money?
I was literally about to ask you, what's his motive? What's his reason for killing his wife, like, if any?
There you go.
Because
a life insurance policy.
did he have the means, the motive, and the opportunity to commit this crime? Those are the questions we got to ask.
And he did.
We'll see. We will find out in episode 9 of Mystery for Two podcast, part 2, coming out next Monday.
All right, I'm excited.
What did you think of part 1? It is a really sad story. I honestly, like, it's an interesting tale. It's really so interesting. And we'll get into like the more nitty gritty of the timestamp specifically and why it's so...
I just hope you can weave in more Beatles references in part 2.
If I have, they're unintentional. I didn't make the connection between Liverpool and the Beatles. That's why I need you here to do that for me.
Gladly.
Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to Mystery for Two podcast. We are so glad that you are here. Make your presence known. Leave us a review. Give us 5 stars.
Life is too short. Order your death row meal for dinner tonight.
And also let us know what that is. And that's a wrap. That's it.
Yeah, we'll end on a lighter note and we'll get back to the gruesome murder next week.
Again, it's like I'm really trying to do this story justice because I feel so terribly for Miss Julia Wallace.
By talking about it and bringing it to light, I think you are.
Right. I like to think she's here with us, cheering me on, being like, yes, tell this story. Like, tell my story. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next week. Goodbye.
Cheers.
I had like a good in front of my bye. Let's do it one more time. I don't know if I liked that. Bye.
Cheers.